let's make our picks. 3-unit, 2-unit, 1-unit picks like we do in the NFL season. Let's do it for the NBA Finals. Why don't you get us started with your 3-unit pick? Oh, it feels good to say.
Yeah, the 3-unit pick. So I mean, obviously, I like the Celtics in this series for everything we really just touched on. So my 3-unit pick, I'm going to take them to not only win the series, but win Game 1 of the series. Basically, I was looking at, so the Celtics minus 210 money line favorites on the series, for the series on DraftKings, minus 225 at FanDuel. I'm just kind of looking for a way to gain a little extra value by absorbing a little extra risk. You already mentioned, I think, some of the trends as it relates to like the series and just the team with a better record going into the series. Home team with a better record in Game 1 of the Finals, 17-2 straight up over the last 19 seasons. That's an 89% 89% win rate, 16-3 against the spread. So, you're getting a better team at home with the trends backing them. Like they're positioned to come out in Game 1 and win that. I know, like you can kind of talk about whether the Celtics are going to be rusty or have the shell shock of a step up in competition, but I think a lot of that applies to Dallas as well.
Yeah,
like
it's been a while.
You know, like they haven't played, and all of a sudden they're going from, they're running into the best team in the NBA for the duration of the season. So that's where I'm trying to get the extra value, is just not only taking the Celtics to win the series, but that Game 1. Also, Luka 2-6 straight up in Game 1 of playoff series. They lost Game 1 against the Clippers and the Thunder, so it feels like he has a little bit of adjustment when it comes to the opponent, so maybe he ramps up a couple games into the series. So I like that. Celtics, I think you might have mentioned the 6.5-point favorites for Game 1. So yeah, I like them to win Game 1 in the series.
I'm in a similar vein with my 3-unit pick. DraftKings, I think I got this one from DraftKings. They give you like a series or like a games spread. So I'm taking the Celtics minus 1.5 games. So basically the Celtics have to win the series by 2 games or more at plus 100. So basically, not basically this, even money. It just feels like a more efficient way, and it gives you a lot of outs. So if the Celtics sweep, win it in 5 or win it in 6, I get home with this. The only thing, it basically accounts for Game 7, I suppose. In which case, maybe I should just make that bet plus a Celtics and 7 bet, and then just hope they win the series. But like I said earlier, they're minus 210 at DK, minus 225 at FanDuel for the series. I just think like this is a more efficient way of getting there. I think, you could look at the specific series outcome where you could bet them in 4, you could bet them in 5. Like I said, this gives me an even money bet, but also it keeps a lot of options open. I think if the Celtics win the series, they make pretty easy work of it, relatively speaking. Like maybe the games won't be easy, but I do think
it could look a lot like that Indiana series, right?
Yeah, right.
It's
exactly.
Close games, but the series.
Or really any of their
outcomes.
series, like where they've struggled at times in Game 2, which I guess kind of adds to your idea. But yeah, I don't know. Like
we're really coming at this with green colored glasses.
Yeah, which like. It feels like we're being gaslit though to think otherwise. Where it's just I'm not the sucker for taking the 70s win Celtics.
No, I also feel like we have probably been two of the bigger Celtics skeptics for the better part of like a decade.
I don't like them, yeah.
And now here we are, and I'm like, I think you're all going too far in the other direction, man. Like I don't know, like. This team's pretty freaking good.
Yeah, and the team they're playing is not a generator. Like this is, you go back 2 years, which is they lost to the Warriors. That was a pretty good team. Yeah,
I'm not the biggest hoophead, but
yeah, me neither. Speaking of, what's your 2-unit play then?
So again, I'm going kind of back to the well here of some of what we talked about, but I like Jaylen Brown to have more total points than Kyrie Irving.
Okay,
at plus 120.
Wow.
At DraftKings. Kyrie favored in this head-to-head points matchup at minus 150. Both of them very similar over-under point totals for the series. Kyrie over 23.8. Jaylen Brown over 23.2. Juice to the under for Kyrie. But basically it just comes down to kind of what we talked about. Like Kyrie, difficult matchup, whether it's Derek White, Drew Holiday. Yeah. Who knows? It could be anybody, really. That's the thing with the Celtics defense. It's just a matter of like they could switch on guys left and right. According to Action Network, Kyrie 0-10 straight up against the Celtics since they acquired Derek White in 2022. And he's averaged 20.7 points per game in that span, scored 20 or fewer points in 7 of those games. His scoring output did drop over the last couple of rounds. Like, he might have that game where he goes off for 35, 40 points, but I think by and large is a low enough floor there that's going to bring his scoring total down for the entire series. And I think Jaylen Brown just in a good spot from an offensive standpoint. So
yeah, I'd be fearful of like empty points for Kyrie. But that's you've made a compelling argument. I think.
I guess I was looking like initially I looked at just the under the point total, but that was sitting at minus 125, and I figured Jaylen Brown, like I said, I like where he's at offensively, so I get the little extra value by pitting them head to head.
All right, I'm gonna drink some juice here. 2-unit pick. I'm taking Jason Tatum over 9.5 rebounds per game, minus 130 at FanDuel. He is averaging 10.5 rebounds per game in the playoffs this season. That's not a fluke. He averaged 10.5 rebounds per game last playoff. He has 10 rebounds or more in 11 of 14 games in the playoffs. Dallas ranked 23rd in rebounding rate this year in the regular season. I think this is in line with the draft talk that we were doing earlier, where with Luka versus Tatum specifically, like Tatum is the better all-around player. I think he has showcased that in ways that maybe we haven't even realized while watching him up close, where like you just look at those rebound numbers and it's, you know, he doesn't strike you as a guy who's a great rebounder necessarily, but he always he has a knack for finding the ball, especially on the defensive glass. So, yeah, I think this just feels like a good number. Again, like I said, minus 130, a little steep, but I think he's going to find ways to affect this series that aren't necessarily scoring 35 again.
Yeah, I also don't know what's the alternative. Who would threaten that bet?
Porzingis, maybe, like if he is.
But I just don't know if the minutes will be there for him.
So, quick sidetrack. I was looking for I wanted to fade Porzingis. Like, I think it helps to have him, especially at the rim defensively.
Yeah.
I have questions about how healthy he is, just because.
See, I think I might be on the other side of that.
So
I think I want a piece of Porzingis.
I was actually thinking about this while I was on a walk earlier. If he's super healthy, I don't ever want to hear like a team talk about like, you know, not resting a player in a non-must-win game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, then if he is super healthy, they just put him on ice for like 2 weeks when they could have brought him back. You know what I mean? Like, that's an indication in my mind that they didn't take the Pacers super seriously. Like, if that got to Game 7, he would have played then, right?
Fun little stat.
Oh, I love stats.
For returning Kristaps Porzingis. So, over the past 3 seasons, he has shot 50% or better from the field in each of his past 6 return showings after missing a week or more.
Wow, thank you for that. That's
so don't worry about the rust, Mike.
That is okay.
He'll be ready to rock
Fair
and roll.
point.
He'll be in there. But he is like super important in this.
Yeah,
game.
he's like an MVP candidate at various points.
He creates like just so many matchup problems on both ends, but I think especially against a team like Dallas. But,
what's your 1-unit play?
So I know you don't want to talk about anybody other than the Stars. That's understandable. I really don't.
Well, it's not that I don't want to. I'm borderline incapable.
Yeah, well, I'm right there with you, but I'm going to do it right now. My 1-unit pick, I'm going to take P.J. Washington to average 2.5 3-pointers per game at plus 150. I think if there's a way for Dallas to stay competitive in the series, it's going to be guys like that knocking down their shots.
Yeah.
Like it's, you know, the classic, like Luka driving to the basket, making some crazy and one type pass, and guys actually hit, like shooting the lights out. Because we've seen that with the Celtics where like, I think it was.
It's like a version of like the Heat. Like
sure, like they had those teams that stole Game 2. Just went on these
like
shootings.
Going back last year, where it's all of a sudden guys you don't expect are raining threes down on you.
But I think we've seen it this postseason too, where like the games that teams did steal from the Celtics were when they just shot the lights.
They just shot well, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just not, you know, maybe it's not sustainable for a 7-game series, but like the opportunities are going to be there.
Yeah.
And I think that the Celtics will take that. Like they'll give them those opportunities, make those guys beat you. So I look at that. It's just a matter of him cashing in, and like I don't know, maybe like I used PJ Washington. The bet was there, but like you could apply that to, you know, one of these other wing players, Derrick Jones, whoever. But yeah, so at plus 150 at DraftKings, PJ Washington averaged 2.5 3-pointers per game.
Rather have PJ Brown, to be honest with you. Not from 3
You know what I also did look at was Tatum most total threes plus 650.
He's going to be chucking them.
Yeah,
he doesn't shoot well though.
He hasn't in the playoffs, but I
don't know how good of a 3-point shooter he is.
I think it's kind of a volume thing.
Fair.
Like, I think so. Luka's the favorite in that market, followed by Derek White, I believe, and then Tatum at plus 650.
Yeah, he's going to play a lot. He's going to shoot a lot. So,
Minutes, volume, all going to be there.
My 1 unit play is basically just a hedge and a chance to diversify my portfolio here. I'll take Kyrie MVP 22-1. That's a pretty big number.
Talk about just really zigging after zagging.
I just need to have a little bit of. I got to cover myself, a little insurance. For the Mavs, 70 shot of winning, Kyrie and Luke have to play out of their minds. Perhaps like the narrative thing leads to more votes. Again, you're talking about a voting-based award. I go back to 2016. He was nails in that entire series. At least after Cleveland went down in the series, they won. What did they win the last 3 games? I think he scored 41, 23, and 26, and then he hit that dagger in Game 7. That's on the table, at least. For 22-1, I'll take it. So